everybody, it's Stephanie. It's Monday, July 5th. It has been a blistering day all day up until now, and now it's starting to drizzle. And tomorrow, we're supposed to get some very heavy downpours from this hurricane that we're all anticipating. So anyway, I want to say thank you to all my subscribers, and if you're just visiting this channel, consider hitting that subscribe key and that top bell for future notifications of my uploads. We'll be back with some very interesting conversation about labels. Yes. So anyways, I left off by saying we're going to have a very interesting conversation about labels. I don't mean labels like when you go to a store and you buy a package of something and then you read the label. Well, that label tells you what you're getting, the content. But in society, a label is a description of someone. So, a label. Today, I'm not very keen or attracted to labels. I don't think we should be labeled, okay? I know that when we're born, we have different ancestors, different ethnicities, cultures, and background. But how about when you're part of the LGBT and you're a gay woman or a trans woman? Why should you be just labeled trans or gay? Are heterosexuals labeled? No. Even African Americans are labeled. Why? I didn't even have to say African Americans. I could have said black people or white people. Labels don't do anybody any justice. And the culprits of labeling, in my opinion, is the general media, or simply put, politics. Now, lately, we've all been hearing news on Black Lives Matter. Shouldn't all lives matter? And the reason that happened was because of the media. Or you just might say, well, it's got to do with Antifa or George Soros. Without getting too heavy into politics, I can begin to tell you what kind of effect that labeling can have, in my opinion, on different groups in society. Okay? Like, for example, when a crime has happened where someone is either killed or murdered or wasn't treated fairly, the first thing that media says is, young black man was killed, or gay couple was attacked. Why don't they just say, for example, a couple was attacked and a young man was murdered? Does society have to know that the couple was gay and that the young man was black? Do they? No. In my opinion, what that does in society is it's telling society that these people are expected to endure some kind of violence or mistreatment or unfairness, that we expect it. So why our labels in society have become like a way of culture, right? I'm only a human being. I'm more than a trans person or a trans woman. Transgender. Isn't that like just an umbrella clause? That everything underneath that clause is the LGBT community? This is so subjective to me. You know? Why did this all come about? Well, to me it came all about because people have been fighting for rights because other certain groups of people don't feel they had any rights. Okay? So these labels are going to identify a group of people who believe they have a right to be in love with the same gender or gender orientation, right? Or a group of people who feel that they can express their gender identification because society looks down on us and don't agree with what we do. But still, labeling, why do we have to have labels? Like I said, I think the media has a lot to do with it. Okay? I once read a post by a trans woman, okay, or simply a woman, who went through sexual reassignment, okay? And she said, when I was the previous gender, I was an avid NASCAR driver. And because I came out of the closet as being in the wrong body, and now I'm gender specific where I wasn't, I am shunned from NASCAR racing. I can't get no sponsors. She said, it was not my intention to come out to my family and my friends as this person instead of the other person. I know I was born in the wrong body, but now that I am a full woman, I am labeled a transgender. It wasn't my plan to be a transgender. I just wanted to be a woman like I feel that I am. I so much agree with her. It wasn't my intention to be a transgender. That term, transgender. Transgender. That means I've traveled from one gender to the next. Or I flowed, trans. Okay? Or en route to becoming a woman. But the trans is a forever label. It's forever sign to people, letting them know that I was living a man before I became a woman, when I was always a woman inside. So I can relate. Okay? But the thing is, because the media has pushed it in instances like when we do something good or something bad happens, first they have to say or inform everybody that trans person has got a promotion. Stephanie Conley, a trans woman, or I'll make up any name. Denise Williams, a trans person or a woman, or Blake Harris, a trans man. Why do they always have to throw in the label? Why can't they just say Stephanie Conley today received a promotion? No, it's going to be Stephanie Conley, a trans woman from blah 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 blah. Or if it was a negative news, it would be more like today, approximately 9 o'clock this evening, Stephanie Conley, a trans woman, was riding her bicycle in the park and a dog chased her, and now she's in the hospital. Why do we have to let the mainstream or society know that we're a trans? Why must they be informed? Did I give them permission to out me? Whether I'm just a gay woman or a trans woman or just... So I don't like labels. I once dated a woman who says, I want to be labeled. If you're fine with it, fine. But if you are fine with it, maybe you're not seeing the negative impact that has on people. We're just people. We are more than a gay person or a trans person or a bi person or a homosexual person or a black person. Heterosexual people are not being labeled, okay? My neighbors are heterosexual, or they're straight people. If something happens to them in their life, should we label them and say, should the media say, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, a heterosexual couple, went shopping at the supermarket, and on their way out of the supermarket, they were robbed at gunpoint. How would they like it? Do we have to know that they're heterosexual? No. I could give two shits. Okay? But when you label people, you're telling them that because of who they are is why they got assaulted or violated. Okay? Or maybe we're letting society know that these people get violated. And because heterosexuals don't get labeled, okay, you don't hear no violence against them. But at least now, because more people in the LGBTQ community do get violated. You hear of couples who went on a vacation out of the country. Like, for example, there was an American couple. Okay, I'm not going to throw any labels around. An American couple was in France and they were attacked in the subway because of their gender, of their sexual orientation. Okay? And right away, it was in the mainstream media that these couple were targeted specifically because of their sexual orientation. Don't you think that if we quit labeling people and just saying Mr. and Mrs. or whatever, we're traveling and this happened. Why don't they label the criminals who are committing the crime? Like, for example, John Jones committed John Jones slash criminal with a criminal history committed this atrocity, or John Jones the bum, or John Jones the degenerate violated the rights of these two citizens. No, they have to say that, Susan and Lisa Smith, a gay couple from Chicago, just an example, were in Paris on their vacation when they were assaulted by anti-gays. Okay? A black female transgender woman in this country has a high rate of assaults against her, including murder. There was a year that I think at least 15 young women were murdered just because they were just being themselves, and because they just want to live their lives happy. Okay? And a lot of this, you can probably assume that the media doesn't really help. In my state, Ron DeSantis said that trans teenagers cannot participate in cisgender sports, young cisgender female sports, because they are more superior physically. And I'm not going to get too deep politically on this, because throughout the whole news, when it was aired, they kept using labels. I think we need to get away slowly from labels, because we are more than labels. Okay? I'm a human being, you're a human being. Okay? If we all had the ability and the power to see our process into this realm that we live in, this material realm that we live in, before we were conceived, where there were no labels, because that's where we all began, in disregard of our gender, our ethnicity, our backgrounds, where we had no names to begin with. We're not a name. We're not even a nationality. We're not even a gender. We're just being. That's why I call my channel Just Be. Just be human. Just be kind. Just be loving. Just be respectful. Just be. But it's difficult to just be in a society that's so divided. Okay? We're so divided, and it's all intentionally that way. And most of it is all politics. Control. Separate. Divide. Okay? Start something that keep people from getting together or coming together. And I hate to say that it's getting worse, but in some cases it is. You know? I hope that I see some changes in my lifetime, but I really don't know. It feels like an uphill battle, because when you squash one thing, something else sprouts back up, you know. In politics, they use people as a ping pong to try to reach negotiations, okay? I'm not a ping pong ball that issues concerning the LGBTQ arises a lot when we're going through voting season or election time is here. Because one president gives you these special rights that we cannot be violated. We have just as many rights as other groups of people. And then when the other party comes in, they strip it away. And then the process goes back and forth, back and forth. What a freaking world we live in, huh? A ping pong ball. Boom, boom. And we're in the middle watching this. When are we gonna stop doing this and just live our lives happily? You know? But anyway, this was the interesting conversation I wanted to have. Okay, guys? We're not labels. You don't have to fall for it. If you're okay with it, fine. I'm not okay with it. Okay? And the worst thing that can happen is complacency. Complacency. I don't like being complacent, and I'm never complacent. I always ask questions, and my mind is always working. Okay? I'm not a label, and neither are you. So I hope that I've resonated with you in some ways here, and you guys have a nice day.